as more people are joining us pre-prophecy school, could you please put our hands up if you want to say something, and let's ask someone directly, because it's hard to keep my eye on so many people at once. So just put your hand up. We spoke last week about, just refresh my mind, make sure it's correct. Isaiah 1:18. It was brought up in class, 1:18. Are we okay? Is everybody comfortable with what we discussed in Isaiah 1:18? Who's it speaking about and who it's not speaking about? Yes? The only people who reason with God are people who are scarlet coloured. Yeah? Sinners. Yep, with no discussion on that. We're okay. Okay? So, yesterday we started asking the question, what's the purpose of a reform line? And lots of people gave different answers. But they boiled down to the fact that the reform line is to understand the future and to prepare for it. Because you can't prepare for the future in the same way every day. You have to, there has to be some different preparation. And I gave a really simple example about you don't prepare for Sabbath on Sunday in the same way that you prepare for Sabbath on Friday. There's a difference between them. Yeah? So I think that's obvious to see. But we also saw that it's to experience reform. And then we saw that this reform was to have this new experience. And also it was to understand cause and effect. So we looked at that, and then I just put 9/11 here. Obviously, it should be 1989 if we were going to make this a proper reform line, or time of the end. And I asked, who needs restoring? Oh, yeah, someone said it's also to restore the image of God. So the question is, who needs restoring? And if you look at, I think almost any Bible verse, except the ones that you don't look at, or the way Spirit of Prophecy approaches the problem, who needs restoring?
God's people.
No, it's only the world. So we're in class and we're looking at Revelation 14, verses 6 and 7, the relationship between that and Revelation 10. And it says that this message goes to whom? Goes to every nation. Does every nation, kindred and tongue include Adventist? Yes? Everybody agree with that? Let me find something. Who else agrees with that? Okay, let's go to, the first place we'll go to is Revelation 7. We're not going to read through the verses. The chapter's split into how many parts? Essentially, simply. Sorry? Chapter 7, it's split into how many parts? I think I heard 3, 5 and 2. 2, Brother Larry?
I'm seeing 3.
3, tell me the 3 parts.
The first, an interlude, then 144,000 sealed from Israel, and then the great multitude.
Okay, is that from like your Bible? What's an interlude?
Like an introduction or...
Okay.
Yeah.
So the introduction would be like 1 and 2?
And 3.
1, 2 and 3. So some people are saying 3, some people are saying 2. Would 1 and 3 be an introduction? Yep. So besides the introduction, it's split into 2. Yeah? The 144,000 and the great multitude. So I don't know if we need to go through the verses of this. The 144,000, verse 4. We'll just read verse 4. And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and there were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel. So, who's Israel? Everybody saying that? In this context? Israel is who? God's servants, His chosen people. Sorry?
144,000.
Yeah, no, that's just the number. That's how many there are.
In this particular chapter, servants of God.
Are we not sure, or are we just being coy? Does anybody see it differently, that these are SDAs? Yeah? They're Seventh-day Adventists. Yeah? Are they priests? Okay, so we agree they're not priests. So we're not sure.
The priests and Levites in this particular.
And particularly?
In this particular chapter, there's priests and Levites because all the 12 tribes are mentioned.
Okay, so they're priests and Levites?
Amen.
Okay. Then verse 9, it says, after this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude, which no man could number, all the nations, kindreds, and people and tongues. So who's that?
Nations.
The world? So who's the world? Call it Babylon, or?
But
Gentiles.
non-SDA.
Oh, we'll call them Gentiles then. So, in Revelation 14, 6 and 7, are SDAs included in that? To every nation, kindred, tongue. Going back to my original question. Sister Olivine says yes. You can still hold to that. Didn't change? Okay. So let's go to Numbers 23:9. This is Balaam's prophecy. Prophecy of Balaam.
Repeat your question again, please. What you asked Sister Olivine?
Oh no, I didn't. I asked a general question.
Are SDA included in the kindreds, multitudes, nations?
Okay, so let me back out that question. What's the original thought? What was the original thought?
Are these messages supposed to go to the whole world or just to the 7
Not
days?
supposed to. I didn't ask, are they supposed to? I asked that, because we had problems here, I said this reform line, who's the reform line supposed to be applied to or given to? Is it just the world or Adventists? And the reason I asked the question is because yesterday we were kind of being a bit not clear about that when we started looking at the implications of what it means with Adventists. So I asked the question just now, Revelation 14, 6 and 7, when that everlasting gospel goes to every kindred, tribe and nation, however it's phrased, does that include Adventists? And some people said yes. So I said, okay, if it does, then let's go to Revelation 7, because it's the same phraseology, maybe the slightly different change of word, and here it's not Adventists. So I take you to another place, Numbers 23:9. From the top of the rocks I see him, and from the hills I behold him. Lo, the people shall dwell alone, and shall not be reckoned among the nations. So who are the people? that dwell alone.
Israel.
Yeah? Adventism.
God's chosen people.
So Adventists are not supposed to dwell among the nations, they're supposed to dwell alone. This is not geography. I'm not trying to make a point about country living or anything or separate from the world. They're considered separate. There's a demarcation between God's people and the world. And when God counts, he doesn't count Adventists with the world. They're counted in two different things.
A.T. Jones has a really good short little article called What is Christian Patriotism? And he shows that God's people are never to be counted amongst the world. And he makes it very clear from deductive reasoning and from the Bible.
So we're in Revelation 7. Let's just go to Revelation 13. So I'm just trying to find the verse. So verse 8, 13:8. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him whose names are not written in the Lamb's Book of Life. So when it says all, that's talking about every single human being, yeah? It qualifies it at the end. But the only point I want to make is that when the Bible says every and all, that kind of phraseology, you have to take it contextually. Yeah, just one more. If you go to Daniel chapter 2, I think it's 38, 39, 2:39. And after thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth. So who's the third kingdom that bears rule over all the earth? This is Greece. Does it bear rule over all the earth? It doesn't. Does it? I mean, it's not ruling Mozambique or Namibia or Peru. It doesn't extend that far. Yeah. So everything needs to be taken contextually. So are we okay that in Revelation 14:6 and 7 that whoever that message is being given to is not Adventism? Yeah. Because who's giving the message? Because it's Adventism is giving the message to the world. Because it's taking us to an end point. That's why Adventists have a problem with doing what we do. To say that they're in a mess. And that they're in need of reformation or restoration. Because they think they're already sorted out. Because they're already under grace. Yeah? And yesterday it sort of, I guess, maybe became apparent to some degree that maybe some of us weren't too sure about that either. Because we're not happy that there are servants and rebels, Adventists in the world, who need restoration. Which really makes you not real servants, doesn't it? If you're in that situation. Okay, so then we went to Romans 3:9. Let's quickly read 3:9 again.
So you're saying now, sorry,
Yep.
that the reform line is only for the rebel, or
No,
I misunderstood you.
only for the rebels. If you're going to define rebels as the world, no.
Yeah.
I'm saying it's not. I'm trying to make sure that we all agree that it's not. All of us need it. All Adventists need a reform line. Now we talk that everybody needs a reform line, but I'm not sure if we really have conceptualized what that means. If we've already accepted what that means. Because if we see what a reform line is, it's understanding the future, preparing for it. It's dates, places, etc. So whatever that reform line represents, even if we just said it represents judgment or the everlasting gospel, it's the solution to everyone's problem, whoever you are. And we need to be comfortable that we really believe that. Otherwise, if you don't, you're not going to tell people, are you? Yeah?
Isn't the reformatory line basically prophecy laid upon a line?
Yes, but it's But if we just said it like that, it's just prophecy laid upon a line, then that's just a nice Bible study. But we're saying that prophecy that's laid upon a line has potency to it. And the potency is that it has the ability to restore the image of God in a human being. And
Amen.
all of God's people are in need of that.
Daniel too, that was given actually to Nebuchadnezzar. That could actually be laid out in lines, right?
Yeah?
So basically Daniel told Nebuchadnezzar that this dream that was given to him was not given to Daniel, but it was given to Nebuchadnezzar that he may know the thoughts of his heart. And there's other verses that points out that prophecy, the study of word, reveals what's in your heart.
Yes? But the problem is, with Adventists, they'll go to Daniel 2, and who was it given to? It wasn't given to a Jew. It wasn't to save a Jew, it was to save a Gentile. Because Jews don't need saving, do they? No, because they're already saved. That's the whole
That's right,
point.
yeah, I mean,
They're already
they've
saved.
gone through the process.
Well, they claim to have. That's the whole point. They claim to have already been saved. Because there are plenty of other Jews besides Daniel and his 3 friends who are wise men, who are part of that group. And in the next chapter, you're going to see what's going to happen to them.
Yeah.
So they're not taking their own medicine, if we could put it that way.
Yeah.
Romans 3:9. What then, are we better than they? No, in no wise, for we have before proved, both Jews and Gentiles, that they are all under sin. Really take the time to read Romans 1, 2 and up to verse 8 to see in his proof, because he makes a bold assertion here that he's proven that if you're an Adventist, faithful Adventist who's doing nothing wrong, you're under sin. Because if that wasn't the case, then you wouldn't need a reform line, would you? Then if you didn't need a reform line, would the reform line be present truth? No?
You didn't need it.
If there's, I'd say if there's 20 million Adventists, and one of them is okay. One of them is okay. Yeah? He doesn't need a reform line, does he? If he's okay. Is that right? Yeah? It's just one Adventist is in a good place with God, they don't need the reform line. Because they're in here and they're good. In the period of darkness. So it can't be the gospel message then. Because they've already received the gospel. Does that logic make sense? So I think the logic may make sense, but I'm not sure if we all, because you'll know nice Adventists. Brother Clayton doesn't know any nice Adventists. Was that what that no was? Yeah? You need to travel more. I know loads of nice Adventists.
I agree.
Lots of nice ones. Okay, so Paul's argument. So this is not my argument. I'm just doing what Paul's doing. Paul is saying all of them are under sin, and he graciously says we, but he does it like the royal we. Yeah? He doesn't mean himself. He's not including himself in that group, that he's under sin. So he says whether you're a Seventh-day Adventist or you're a Gentile, you're in the same condition, you're under sin. Which is Romans 3:9. If you're under sin, what's another way of expressing that? It's a phraseology that Paul uses often.
Under the law.
Under the law. Sorry?
To that point, I found, maybe this will apply later, to Romans 7:7, Paul starts to talk about how he died to the law, how he was living outside of the law prior to his, I guess his conversion. And then, is the law sin? God forbid, nay, I had not known sin but by the law, for I had known lust except the law had said, thou shalt not covet. But sin, taking occasion by the commandment, wrought in me all manner of concupiscence. For without the law, sin was dead. For I was alive without the law once, but when the commandment came, sin revived, and I died.
So you read, I think, 4 verses. What does all that mean?
Well, if you're saying that under sin means under the law, then is he then saying that, for I was alive without the law once, but when the commandment came, sin revived and I died. So once the law applied to him, then he saw that he was in sin, dying to himself, embracing Christ. The law didn't die, but he died.
Okay, I'm just not going to answer your question. And the reason I'm not going to answer your question is because we need to go back to verse 1 and to work through these verses carefully to actually understand them. I don't know if it would do justice to what these verses are teaching and the point Paul's trying to make here by just answering the question, if that's okay. Yeah? Because I think people read these verses in a different way, and we want to spend time looking at them carefully before we make some kind of application of what he's talking about. And part of the reason why I say that, because it says, you read verse 9, yeah? Yeah. For I was alive without the law once. Okay, if he's speaking about himself, so let's make the assumption that he's speaking about himself in real life. Was he ever alive without the law? He was never alive without the law. He was born into the law. He kept the law. He was faithful to the law. So the only reason I say that is you have to know the point that he's making, because he was never alive without the law once. He always was under law. He knew about what the law was. When I mean under law, I don't mean it the way he means it, like under sin. He was always keeping the law, because he was the son of a Pharisee. He was a Pharisee. He studied under Gamaliel, the best teacher in the land, and he kept the law perfectly. This man was righteous, and he testifies of that he was a righteous man. Yeah? So that's why I'm saying that the verses I don't think are that straightforward to help to explain what we're trying to do here. So we'll go. Then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe Romans 10. I've got a question mark here. I can't remember what that says. But at least we've got 4 verses that teach what? That the Jews and the Gentiles are the same. Yeah? But this group of Jews and Gentiles are not the same ones as these. These ones are believers. Yeah? All of these verses talk about believers. So he set up a paradigm now where he says there's no difference between Jews and Gentiles, but there's 2 groups in the world now. So the 2 groups are this one and this one. So are we in this situation at the moment? Are we in this, I don't know what word to call, paradigm? Are we in this dispensation where you've got this dynamic going on? You've got 2 groups. Yeah? Okay, we normally say there are 2 groups in the world. Yeah? Who are the 2 groups? Sorry? Okay, wheat and tares?
The wicked and the righteous.
In the world or in the church?
On earth.
Believers and unbelievers?
Okay, can we say SDAs and Babylon?
Yeah.
Or the world? Yeah? SDAs and the world. That's how Adventists split the world up. Us and them. Yeah? So are we under this dispensation? It's us and the world? Are we still like that? Why are we still like that? Because what are we not allowed to do? No public evangelism. Yeah, we can't bring them in. Yeah? So the system stays like that. And so what we do is we just cut the world like that and say the world doesn't even look like that. It only looks like SDAs. And then we're going to have 2 groups in the SDAs. Yeah? The wheat and the tares, the wise and the foolish, etc. So we've not even begun to deal with this. Yeah? Does that make sense? So are we in this dispensation now where the world is at the same place as a Seventh-day Adventist under grace? If you don't understand my question, I'll try and rephrase it.
I missed it.
The world isn't under grace.
Is the world under grace? We all agree that, or we're not sure? Because they're not in a saved relationship with Christ. Why aren't they? Because the message hasn't gone to them yet.
Yeah.
Right? Yes, because the reform line isn't being applied to them yet. Yeah? So, the world isn't in this argument. So, all we've got at the moment are SDAs and SDAs, like that, yeah? Yeah? Although you can include the world here. So, we've got this one, which is all under sin, but you've only got this component at the moment. We need to be adding this group, and they're not here yet. We agree with that? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Paul comes into the message when? 34. What did he claim to be? The apostle of the Gentiles. Yeah. So he already tells you all of that. That when he's talking now, we're in a different dispensation to the dispensation that we're in. Yeah. You can mark 34 in a different way, but we'd probably mark 34 as the Sunday law say. Would that be reasonable?
Yeah.
Yeah. 27 to 34 to 1844. This is the 2300-day prophecy. Yes? 2300-day prophecy teaches us two things. What's the two things that it teaches? It teaches lots of things, but two big things. Sorry?
Shouldn't you include 457?
I should do, yeah, if I went back. So yeah, okay, I'll do that.
The separation between the Jews and the world, ending in 34, church and the world.
Okay, so the first thing it teaches us, which Adventists miss when the 2300 days, is that judgment is first with the church and second with the world. Yeah? That's one of the major things that the 2300 day teaches us, and I don't think most of us have visibility. Adventists don't. We should have visibility of that. It's first the church and then the world. This is the 490 and this is the 1810. Everybody's familiar with that? Yeah? And the second thing that it teaches you is what's happened in 457? What's happened to it? It's been restored, yeah? So it begins with a restoration and it ends with a restoration. So the second great theme is a theme of restoration. Yes? So the two themes of the 2300 days. It's restoration and the sequencing of the judgment. We can see that?
Yes.
Yeah?
Can you say the restoring of the proper function of the sanctuary and these people?
Yes, I'm not defining all the intricacies of what's getting restored, but it has a theme of restoration. Yeah? So the other way you can see the theme of restoration is how? With the 2300 days. I've done Alpha and Omega. How else do you see restoration?
The three angels' message?
Does it have to be in the 2300 history?
No, I don't think so. I don't know. What's 457 connected to?
677.
536, isn't it? To the first degree he's given?
So you're going to put 536 here, and then you've got 70,
Yeah, which is 677.
which is going to take you to,
The scattering.
this would be Daniel 1:1. Yeah? It's Daniel 1:1. And what's that then?
No, Daniel 1 was different. 677.
Coming out
That's
of
the same
Babylon.
character.
Daniel
Daniel
taking on that
602.
Am I doing this wrong? Or?
First,
So, I'm saying this is Daniel 1:1. Is that correct?
Yes.
What's this one?
decree of Cyrus.
Bible verse. Sorry, Daniel?
I was going to say Ezra 1 or Daniel 10.
Daniel 10? Daniel 1:21? Yeah? So the first and last verse of Daniel chapter 1 is a 70-year captivity.
Yes.
That's the ministration of Daniel.
Amen.
Yeah? Does that concept make sense?
So then there's 606, right? Daniel 1.
I wasn't even trying to work out the numbers.
Okay, sorry.
It'll be 606.
Okay.
There's some people are going to say 607, 537. I'm not making that argument.
607.
All I want us to see is that this is Cyrus, isn't it? This is just a distraction. 536, Cyrus, Artaxerxes. Yeah? Here's the 70-year captivity. And this is Daniel 1:21 and Daniel 1:1. So Daniel 1, chapter 1, brings you to where? What is 536? Conceptually.
Time of the end.
Time of the end. So Daniel 1 takes you to the time of the end. Yeah, the lead chapter of Daniel, it should give you the theme of Daniel, the whole, the book of Daniel, is dealing with this history here, or the 1260 or the 70-year captivity. So Daniel's going to take you all the way to time of the end. He says, how does verse 21 go? And Daniel continues even unto the first year of King Cyrus. So what happens after he does that work? So what happens after he gets to the first year of Cyrus?
He dies.
He stops working. Yeah? So when he stops working, who's going to take over? Not in real life. Because now we've gone to the time of the end. Now we've got... Daniel's going to take you to 1798, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
I guess where I'm trying to lead us, partly this is like to do with the afternoon class, is if we've got this first angel's message coming in 1798, the time of the end, there's a reason for that. There's a reason that Daniel is being sealed and gets unsealed then, is because you can see his ministry ends at the time of the end. And someone else's ministry is going to begin. And whose ministry begins then?
John.
It would be John, wouldn't it? The book of Revelation, yeah? Just at that sort of simple level. So I just want to show us that Daniel's ministry is the Dark Ages, is Thyatira. That's where he's doing all of his work. So if we went back a little bit further, someone said 677. Yeah? So 677 is the 2520. So how else now do we see restoration?
There's a 220.
Sorry?
The 220.
From the 220, you get the scattering and the gathering. The 2300 days, the theme of that is gathering or restoring. So you get a scattering and a restoring because it's 220. We're not studying the 220. I presume you either know about it or you've heard about it. That the number 220 is a symbol of restoration. Yeah? Does anybody not know that? You may not understand it, but you've heard of it, yes? Okay. The only reason we went through all of that is to discuss the fact that judgment first begins in the house of God, and you can't see it clearly in Revelation 14, 6 and 7. So Adventists have a hard problem in making it self-application, that we're in need of the gospel. And that's part of the settling into the truth that each of us needs to experience. We need to settle into the truth intellectually first that Adventists are lost. En masse, 100%, everyone. So we're not quite here yet because the world hasn't come. So we're not the same as the world yet because Paul, oh yeah, sorry, I've rubbed it out prematurely. 34 is a Sunday law and Paul's here. He's in this time period, isn't he? Yeah? How do we know? what's going to happen under his ministry, besides him being the apostle to the gospel, the gospel to the Gentiles. How do we know Paul's in this dispensation here? We'll go to Colossians 1:23. If ye continue in the faith, grounded and settled, and be not moved away from the hope of the gospel, which ye have heard, and which was preached to every creature which is under heaven, whereof I, Paul, am made a minister. So he's the minister that's going to preach the gospel to every creature under the sun. Yeah, and we're not quite there yet. We're back in this history here still.
I don't understand it. Why is this statement?
Oh, because in his ministration, the gospel's going to go to every creature, to all the world.
So public evangelism.
Yeah. So he's doing public evangelism. That's what he was created, or he was anointed to do, public evangelism. That's what his job function was. Which is interesting, because today we say don't do public evangelism and we get into trouble. Yeah? And then here comes Paul. He says we need to do public evangelism. What happens to him? He gets in trouble. So you know, when we start doing public evangelism, people are going to start complaining that perhaps we shouldn't be doing it the way we're doing it amongst our own brethren. I don't know. So there's trouble about public evangelism whenever it happens. So we've read 3:9. Any more questions on 3:9? You've got these two groups that are set up. And that's one of the themes that Paul's going to make throughout the New Testament, is this idea that you're either in this camp or this camp. One of the two. And the one that our focus should be on, what I want us to focus on, is this one here. Because for a start, we're not even here yet. We're just this group. It's this one here. That do we really recognize that Adventists are in the same condition as the world? So we've done 3:9. Hopefully we're okay with that. Let's go to 11. Romans 11. Who's he talking to in chapter 3? When he says we. Who's his target audience? Sorry? Jews. Do we all agree it's Jews, not Gentiles? He says we are. He says we are no better than they. We're no different to the Gentiles. So he's talking to Jews there.
Amen.
Yeah? So Romans 11. We'll pick up from verse 29. But the key verse that we want to pick up is verse 32. For the gifts and calling of God are without repentance. For as ye in times past have not believed God, yet have now obtained mercy through their unbelief, even so have these also now not believed, that through your mercy they may also obtain mercy. For God hath concluded them all in unbelief, that he might have mercy upon all. So it's the last one I want to pick up, the last verse. It says, for God hath concluded them all in unbelief. So to get the context of this, let's go to verse 30. For as ye in times past have not believed God, yet have now obtained mercy through their unbelief. Who is the ye?
Jews.
So some people are saying Jews and some people are saying Gentiles. So the fact that we've come to a disagreement means let's reread the verse and see either, if you think it's a Jew, see if it would be a Gentile, and then the other way around. If you think it's a Gentile, see if it would be a Jew. For as ye in times past have not believed. yet have now obtained mercy through their unbelief. Two groups, yeah? Can we see there's two groups at least?
I think verse 25 really clarifies the two groups there.
I didn't want to make it too easy.
Oh, okay.
But if you're taking us there, so maybe we'll look at verse 25. For I would not, brethren, that ye should be ignorant of this mystery, lest ye should be wise in your own conceits, that blindness in part is happened to Israel, until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in. So Brother Peter made it easier for us. I wanted us to wrestle through the verse a bit more. Okay, so can we all see that there? He's talking to Gentiles. Can you see that, Sister Tanya? Or still not? So, in times past, whoever he's speaking to, what were they? What was their condition? They were unbelievers. And what are they today? Okay, so they've switched from unbelief to belief. Yeah, we can see that. Is that how you read that, Sister Tanya? They were unbelievers and now they're believers, whoever it is. Then in the next verse it says, yet, because you have now obtained mercy through their unbelief. So, while you are believing, the other group are unbelieving. So you're believing today and the other group is unbelieving today. But before you were in unbelief. So you can't quite get it from the verse, but if you just see what the verse is, what Paul's trying to make, is before they used to be in belief. So you had a group originally who were in unbelief and another group that were in belief, and now their roles have swapped. And what would be before, or the times past? What would the times past be? Darkness. So in the time of darkness you had two groups. One group was the believers and one group was the unbelievers.
What time of ignorance?
I guess, yeah. I'm a bit nervous about using that, but yeah, okay. So at least in the time of darkness. So now their roles have swapped. Now the Gentiles are in belief and the Jews are in unbelief. Verse 31, even so had these also now not believed, that through your mercy they may also obtain mercy. What's the point he's making in verse 31? These people deserve mercy, these Jews. Who's received mercy?
The Gentiles.
Verse 31, when it says they also may obtain mercy. That's the Jews, isn't it?
I think, yeah. The Gentiles receive mercy so that the Jews that didn't believe could have mercy.
So he's saying,
Who's
what?
Lord?
Sorry?
Your mercy.
Yours is I believe is the Gentiles. Then if it's all on that page, it would have been better to. Do you still in verse 30? This section, do you still think he's talking to Jews or Gentiles? Sister Tanya.
I'm seeing, I don't know, I'm seeing that through your mercies
Yeah, that's Israel.
is those that are basically who have received the mercy. So is he talking about the Jews or
Yeah.
the Gentiles that have received Christ?
I think it's the Gentiles. I think verse 25 gives you that context.
So the Gentiles are supposed to reach out to the Jews that have not been converted? Is that what
Yes.
you're saying?
That's what
I don't think he's quite saying that. I think what he is saying, I think the point that he's trying to make is not that you should go to evangelize to Jews.
No, I understand
I
that.
think what he's trying to say is, if he's talking to Gentiles, he's saying that God is not going to go to an Adventist here and say, you should have known better because you claim to be a servant And I'm going to take that at face value and treat you like that. Because if you had a servant or a slave that was rebellious, what would you do to them? You just punish them. Yeah? You wouldn't say, so why are you misbehaving? And they'd say, I didn't wind my watch up, or my battery ran low, or I didn't know what day it was. What would you say to them? Would you care? You wouldn't care. There'd be no mercy. Because that's what we're saying. But here, what does God do? This reform line is showing mercy to a people who don't deserve mercy. Do the Gentiles deserve mercy? They do.
Oh yeah, because they didn't really have the...
They didn't have any option. They were in ignorance, as Sister Chamila. They don't know anything, so they deserve mercy. But we don't. We don't deserve mercy. Sorry?
We should have known.
We did know. Not even should have known. We did know. Because if you go back to 1844 and you start clocking the 4 generations to bring you to 1989, this was malicious. It's not accidental. You know, we've done this thing maliciously. 1863 wasn't a mistake. This was direct thrust against God and his authority from a rebellious people. So we don't have any excuse. But what God's going to do, you know, when I say you're all lost under sin, you're all bad people, Adventists take this as an insult. This is the only thing that's going to save you. Because when God does this, what does it give him the ability to do for Adventists? Exercise? Exercise mercy. Because if he didn't look at you this way, if he said, okay, you're not the same as the world, you're like some other people, he would be forced to do what? To bring you judgment. And there will be no hope. This whole condition to accept this is the acceptance of mercy. And God's willing to look at Adventists and say, I'll just turn a blind eye. I'll be merciful unto you. You know, you claim you didn't know what day it was, or your watch broke. He says, I'll let you off. I'll give you another chance. To people who don't deserve another chance. Because the world deserved a chance. Because it's not that they deserve another chance, they never had a chance. Adventists had plenty of chances. And we've systematically wrecked everything. And God is still saying, here, I'll give you another chance. From the time of the end. For him to do that, legally, if you want to think about it legally, he has to consider you as a Gentile. Under sin.
Just kind of fall into the willful sinning and ignorance.
Okay, so I had it here and we haven't quite tackled that. So I haven't forgotten about it. I haven't forgotten about that. For God hath concluded them all in unbelief, that he might have mercy upon all. So that's what he's doing. That's what 3:9 is. 3:9 is not an insult. He's saying, in mercy, I'll look at you all the same. I'll treat you all the same. And 11:32, if you look at most of 11, that's the point he's trying to make. He's saying, it's in mercy that I'll treat a Seventh-day Adventist as I would treat the world. Almost like with a clean sheet of paper. I don't mean in the sense of your sins or whatever, but he won't consider us that we're some unique, special people. Are we all okay with that? So, when we think about a reform line, and we think about, oh no, before we do that, let's just put a few more Bible verses in place. Let's go to Philippians chapter 3. As you turn to Philippians chapter 3, I want to read Romans 7:9. We already read it. For I was alive without the law once, but when the commandment came, sin revived, and I died. So Paul says, sometime in the past, he was alive, wasn't dead, but he didn't have the law. But when the commandment came, which is the law, what happened? He died. Yeah? So here he is. In the past, he was alive, and now what's happened to him? Now he's dead. And what was he alive with? No law. And with law. Is that what 7:9 is teaching? What's this line here? What's this waymark? Sorry? Conversion?
Mara vision.
The Mara vision?
Crucifixion, die to self.
Let's try and put it on the line.
9/11.
Okay, so we've got the Mara vision. We've got 9/11.
Come the end.
Time of the end. Someone had the hand up?
I have a question. What does it mean, but when the commandment came?
Well, before, I've changed commandment to law.
Okay.
So I certainly did that. So before, he didn't have the law. It wasn't with him. But now when the law came, he died. Yeah?
You didn't feel any condemnation before.
It doesn't say how he died, but if we were to read around that, I would suggest that the law killed him.
Does it mean he suddenly was aware of the law, or did
Okay,
someone
yeah, so I'm not
teach him?
what I'm going to say is, I'm going to suggest that the law killed him. It pierced him. That's my sword. It killed him. The law killed him.
Okay.
When he had an interaction with the law, it killed him. So we're replacing this, the Mara vision, 9/11, or time of the end, or any other options. Sister Brittany?
Then what does it mean, sin revived?
Revival means come alive.
No, but sin revived.
It means sin comes alive.
Oh, like you see you're in sin. Is that what it's like? Wait, I don't know. I'm asking, I don't know what it means.
You don't know any more?
No, I'm saying, what is that, what does that phrase mean? Sin
Okay,
revived?
sin revived means sin comes alive. Yeah? Who said 9/11? Okay, so if it's 9/11, that means in Paul, what is inside Paul now that wasn't there before? It's not sin?
Conviction.
No, isn't sin in him?
No, he's without sin. This is
Sister
the law.
Alyssa, this is the problem with which why I didn't want to do this, because we're stuck on one verse, and for me to sort of demonstrate this, I'm going to have to go to other verses, which I don't want to do.
Doesn't the law represent the mirror, the looking glass? And basically, when you look in this law, the looking glass, and you see self, you gotta die to self. And as you die to self, then Christ becomes alive in you. So when you look in this law, you no longer see yourself, but you see Christ living in you.
Okay, this is the law doing anything with him here? It's not doing anything with him. Where's sin?
Not there.
It's not there.
No, because he has no conviction of sin.
Because I won't say equal, because then you'll tell me off. There's a connection between sin and law. And this verse isn't going to quite do it for us. This is the problem with sort of jumping into verses. Sorry?
What verse was that in Philippians 3?
No.
We're not even in Philippians 3 yet, sorry. Wait now, we're in Romans 7:9. Before we go. 7:7. What shall we say then? Is the law sin? God forbid, they had not known sin, but by the law. For I had not known lust, except the Lord had said, thou shalt not covet. Okay, so that's a good verse. So I'm not saying it's equal, but I'm saying they're best friends. Yeah? Wherever you see the law, you see sin. Wherever you see sin, you see the law. So here's Paul, and the law and the sin are somewhere hovering away from him, so he's got no problems. So when the law comes, it kills him. Yeah? So if someone wants to say the law is in him, if the law's in him, what's in him as well? Sin. So he's got sin in him now. And it's kind of like, it looks like a parasite or I don't know if it's a bacteria or a virus, one of the two. You know, they're okay sort of floating around in some kind of dormant stage, like it's dormant here. When it comes into your body, some chemical reaction happens and it clicks on and it now becomes alive. It starts replicating. Yeah? So that's what's happening with this sin. It's floating around outside and it's all good and well. But as soon as it comes into you, it's now going to come alive. So that's why sin revived and it comes alive, because now it's in you. That's the only place sin can come alive, because it's floating around everywhere, which it's not, is it? Yeah? Yeah, sin is not a thing. Do we agree with that? Because we all say yes, but I know many Adventists who don't believe it. And I'll tell you why they say they don't believe, why they don't believe it. Most people don't believe this. Here's your heart. Okay? So here's your heart, and it's in a big mess. What are all these black dots? Sorry? These are all the sins in your heart, yeah? So, here we go. You meet Christ, and he cleans them all out, and you've got one sort of tucked in this corner down here, which isn't coming out easily. Yeah? Many people that I meet, they conceptualize the Christian walk this way, like sin is something that needs to come out. And what's going to happen is, you know, everything's gone okay for the last 10 years, but tomorrow you're going to meet somebody, God's going to put you in a circumstance that this sin that's been lodged here all your life, you never knew about, is all going to be exposed, and you're going to say, oh, I didn't know I had this sin. So you need sort of like surgery to take this blob of sin out of you. Because most people that I've met have this concept of sin like this. And without, I'm just saying that's not correct, in my opinion. So even though I've conceptualized sin here as this, is it a virus or a bacteria? What would be the best way? Virus, yeah? I think it's virus. So there's this virus floating around, dormant, and it's going to enter into you. When it enters into it, it clicks on and now it comes alive.
Virus is something that is dead already.
No, viruses are alive.
No.
No, they're alive.
I'll just call them dormant.
Okay.
It's dormant, but when it comes inside you, now it starts sort of feeding off you, and it becomes alive and it starts replicating. So it's not biochemistry class, because I don't know anything about biochemistry. But I just want us to think, I've conceptualized it like this blob that's here, and that's going to enter into you, but it's not the correct concept. It helps to make the point about where sin is now residing. But sin is not a thing that you've got in your heart, and that you're just waiting for the experience tomorrow, that you meet someone and you realize, oh, I didn't know I had this sin. Thankfully, I can get rid of it now. It doesn't work that way.
So from the concept of cause to effect, the sin is the effect, not the cause. So when you try to cut away the effect, you're really not getting rid of the problem.
I think I agree with that, but I'd have to work through that. This cause and effect is a big issue. I agree with that. Philippians chapter 3, verse 1. what is the cause if sin is the effect?
Separation of God.
Yeah, I think that, I agree with that. Philippians 3:1. Finally, my brethren, if I said finally, what would that mean?
Conclusion.
Conclusion. And you're in chapter 3. So you'd have to go to chapter 1 and 2 to see what the preamble is, and what's everything. Because this is like the conclusion, or I've already proved all of this before, and now I'm making a summary point. Brother Larry.
Oh, I was just going to read a quote from Four Spirit Prophecy to emphasize the point on Romans 9 there, on 7:9.
Okay, 4SP.
Yeah, 4SP 297.
Paragraph.
No paragraph.
Okay,
297.
tell us what it says before you read it.
Yeah, what it's saying is that when it in the verse it says, I was alive without the law, he's feeling no condemnation. And then it says, but when the commandment came, then sin revived, and then he died.
Okay, but tell us what the verse is saying. It's proving...
Yeah.
Okay,
So
go
this
ahead.
quote is emphasizing that. It says, the Apostle Paul, in relating his experience, presents an important truth concerning the work to be wrought in conversion. He says, I was alive without the law once. He felt no condemnation. But when the commandment came, when the law of God was urged upon his conscience, sin revived and I died. Then he saw himself a sinner, condemned by the divine law. Mark, it was Paul, and not the law, that died.
What paragraph?
1.
4SP 297 paragraph. We're going to come back to this one. If we can try have a study of that, we're going to come back to that later.
Can I just get a moment again to go back to the virus? Just
Sure.
because I'm very familiar with this issue. Viruses are basically they're not bacteria, but they're dead. But basically they are active or dormant. But they cannot get rid of viruses. They can control, but they cannot get rid of them. So once you, for example, if you have herpes, it will never be gone away. It remains dormant. It may become active at times, but it always remains part of you. Now, unless your body, your immune system can actually fight it off. So the same thing with sin. It can remain dormant, but then it can start active again, and you don't even know that it's there. So that's why when you cut away just the effect, you're not really dealing with the cause.
Okay, so if everybody agrees with that definition of viruses, keep hold of that, because that's going to be another component that we need to consider when we think about conversion. I think what Sister Tanya has said is, once you've caught it, it's always there, and you can press it down, keep it under control, and you live like it's never there. But if you do something wrong, go to bed late or eat wrong food, your immune system comes down, it's just going to burst into life again. Yeah, but it always has the potential to burst back into life. So what she's saying is, once dormant, not always dormant. I was going to say dead, but if I use dead, it won't work. So, yeah.
It's like with cancer, the cells, we have cancer cells in our body, and it just takes something to trigger those cells.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Brother Luke, you said ages ago, I'm sorry.
No, I've got a new comment. Could you say then once lost, always lost?
Once lost.
If you got a virus that's going to come up again when you don't know. Like, it's just sitting dormant there, and then voila, here it is again.
Okay, so this is why I'm saying I want to be careful about turning it into this kind of physical thing, because let me say this about parables and some of the parables that I might come up with. Problem with parable teaching is that we're not very good at it, and not only are we not very good, the other problem that we're faced with is most of the parables that are in the Bible don't work anymore. They've lost their effectiveness. Why have they lost their effectiveness? Sorry? Sorry?
We don't live in that type of setting.
Because we don't live in that type of setting. They were not designed for 21st century people. Perhaps we weren't supposed to be here in the 21st century. They're designed for people who live in whatever age that is. I don't know what age that is. but they don't really work too well.
Agrarian.
Sorry?
Agrarian.
Yes. I mean, even if you live where I live, in sheep country, you know, we've got, I think, 3 million people and we've got 20 million sheep. Even that model of sheep doesn't work anymore, because the way they run their sheep farms isn't the way sheep or shepherds are operated or brought to view in the scriptures. It all works differently now. So the problem that we're faced is we need a whole new set of parables to understand how the gospel works and how to understand spiritual things. Yeah. So where do we find all these new parables?
Reform lines.
Right? In the reform lines, yeah. So we go to Esther and say, by the way, that was a parable and nobody's going to believe you because it's not about sheep and goats and things like that. So so that doesn't work. And then we say, well, let's go back to the ones that Jesus gives us, all these natural ones. And people say, I read what the verse says, but I just don't believe it operates that way. So you go to Matthew 13, I've seen your voice. You go to Matthew 13, 24 to 30, and he says clearly how that all operates. And people don't even know how it works because it can't be that way. And so kind of people like me are sort of forced to make up their own little parables, and you have to take them with a pinch of salt because I'm using a virus type of a model or this blob, but I want to reiterate that it is a parable and the virus is not a thing. It's not a thing that's in you. You don't have sin in you in the context of a thing that needs to be eradicated, that's already there, that you haven't found yet. Yeah? Because you need to get married and have children, because what do children do? Or your spouse, depending on, they show you what? They show you yourself, what's in you, or something like that. I mean, that is just craziness. It's a crazy concept to think that there's something bad in you, that you need to have a relationship with someone so they can show you what's in you by pushing your buttons. It just doesn't, it's not right.
So I want to finish the end of my parable. Restoration is possible, but you cannot focus on the disease. You have to focus on the immune system. And it has been done where basically AIDS, which is a virus, was able to reverse. So there is a way of getting out of the situation, but the focus has to be on the immune system, so the immune system can fight off these viruses that are in you.
Amen. Philippians 3:1. Finally, my brethren, rejoice in the Lord. To write the same things to you, to me, indeed, is not grievous, but for you it is safe. Verse 2. Beware of dogs, beware of evil workers, beware of the concision. So I don't know if people have got computers or whatever up, or you may already know. What is a dog? A Gentile. How do we know? What's the most famous dog that we know? The Syrophoenician woman. Everybody familiar with that? Yeah, he just calls her straight a dog. What else about dogs? Sorry?
She doesn't argue with him.
She doesn't argue. She admits being a dog. Yeah? So if you're an alcoholic, the first thing you've got to do is, I'm an alcoholic, and then now you can start sorting your problem out. So she says, yes, I'm a dog, and I admit it, and now God can help her. Where do dogs live? Sorry? You say? Where do dogs live? Sorry? Come and get your computers out, find the verses. I mustn't do this all for you.
Then they live with their master.
Sorry?
In their master's home.
Revelation 22:15.
A dog is a fool.
Sorry?
A dog is a fool.
Okay, so where are you getting that from?
Proverbs 26:11.
So a dog is a fool. It's Proverbs
26:11.
26:11.
Yep.
Revelation 22:15. For without are dogs and sorcerers and whoremongers and murderers and idolaters and whosoever loveth and maketh a lie. So that's a long list of what a dog is. So what is a dog? Is this like just a whole list of what dogs are? So a dog is a sorcerer. How do you spell sorcerer?
S-O-R-C.
S-O-R-C. E. So a sorcerer. What is a sorcerer? Like a wizard or a... Yeah? So, someone who's into spiritualism. What's the definition of spiritualism? Right? Do their own thing.
Well, this sorcerer here represents a druggist, a poisoner, magician, yeah.
Okay, so it's someone who poisons other people. So that's a nice definition. That's the definition of sorcerer here, yeah?
Yep.
A poisoner.
And spiritualism also
Pharmacist, like poisoner.
S-O? P-O-I?
P-O-I-S-O-N-E-R.
So he's one who poisons other people. So he's a poisoner. Sorry, Sister Tanya?
I was just wondering, spiritualism can also have the definition of truth and error combined.
It always has to. Because error is what? Error's like a... Sorry?
Parasite.
It's a parasite. Yeah, so maybe I should just call that parasite and made it easier. It's a parasite. Sin is a parasite. So we've got someone who poisons. Anything else from this verse? Or whoremonger. What's a whoremonger?
Prostitute.
Yeah, like a fishmonger. A monger is a seller, is it?
It's a pimp.
So it's not a prostitute.
Male prostitute.
Male prostitute.
Yeah?
I think so.
A male prostitute.
A whoremonger is a male prostitute.
No, it's a pimp.
Anything else?
Whosoever loveth and maketh a lie.
So murderers, idolaters, and they love lying. Who loves lying a lot?
Satan.
Satan.
He's the father of all lies.
He's the he's the father. Who
The men of sin.
sorry?
Men of sin.
Men of sin. Who is the man of sin?
That's what he said.
Oh, the
not
man of
men,
sin.
The man of sin.
Okay. If I say the people who love lying the most, could I say they're SDAs?
Yes.
Yeah? The SDAs love to lie the most above everyone else.
They make a lie.
Yeah?
Love it and make it.
How would you make a lie, Brother Tyler?
Oh, no. I wasn't going to answer that, sorry.
Oh, in anything.
Was your original question, where are the dogs? Or was
Who
it-
are they? My original one was
Where they live.
just dogs, and I said, where do they live? And 22 says outside.
Yeah, I guess these are all outside the city.
So this was Revelation 22:11.
15.
So it says they make a lie. What does it mean to make a lie?
22:15.
Sorry, yeah, 15. I knew it was 15. I want to put 11. So they're making something. So what would you be making?
Reality.
False doctrine. False belief. Their own garment.
Sorry? Isaiah 4, verse 1. Seven women going to go to one man and tell him, we'll marry you, or can you marry us? But don't worry about it. It'll be okay, because we'll feed ourselves and we'll wear our own wear our own apparel, our own garments. Yeah? So, these people are going to make a lie. So, Sister Kathy's saying, the thing that they're actually making, so they make a garment.
Another peace and safety message.
Is that a peace and safety message? Yeah? So they make a garment, and what is this garment? Just in the way the verse is phrased. If they're making a lie, they're making a garment. The garment must be what? The lie. Yeah? So the garment that they made is the lie. And isn't that what actors do?
Yeah.
Yeah? They put on the clothes, and now they become a different person. So now they're lying to you. They're saying, whatever it is. You know, I'm Superman, because I put the clothes on, and it's all a lie, isn't it?
And that's why they're lukewarm.
So,
It's not the definition for a hypocrite.
okay, so we'll go to hypocrite in a minute. So, Philippians 3:2. We'll go back to this one first. Beware of dogs, beware of evil workers. So what else is a dog?
Workers.
It's an evil worker. Beware of the concision. So what is the concision? It's a made-up word that Paul kind of invents. Philippians chapter 3 verse 2. Gone back to Philippians chapter 3 verse 2. Beware of dogs, beware of the concision. If you look at the Greek, it means the ones who mutilate. Is that right?
Yep.
I think the mutilators. You might have a marginal reading in your Bible.
So it says it, mutilation.
Yeah, mutilation. It's now going to tell you who. Then he says, verse 3, for we are the circumcision. So you've got how many groups? 2 groups. You've got the people who are the concision, and you've got the people who are the circumcision. So when he says we, who is the we? Remember, this is a setup here. I haven't taken this off the board yet. Who is the we? I had a couple of
Right
different
side.
answers.
If you're on the right
Brother Richard?
On the right?
So, all of this. Yeah?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So, all of these are the circumcision?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
So, you're saying all of these are the circumcision?
I mean, SDA in the world.
Sorry?
Well, as far as the righteous go, that's how I'm trying to make the
Yeah,
righteous are.
because this is all under grace. I took the grace bit out. They're under grace. And we're in this dispensation. So, the SDAs here are the circumcision, and the world is the circumcision? All been circumcised? Is that what I want to know? How you're reading that statement when he says, "We are the circumcision"? Who the we is?
Well, the circumcision in that sense would be the SDAs.
Just the SDAs.
Yes.
So he's only talking to Jews when he says that. Sister Terry?
Who's talking to?
If you read the rest of that,
I don't want to read the rest of it. I don't want to get the context. I want us to see how we're piecing these puzzles together. Anyone else?
We are his brethren in context.
So it's his brethren in context. And he's writing to the Philippian church.
Right.
So you know, at some level, they're a Gentile church.
Right.
all those who have accepted salvation of Christ.
So everybody. Because he's already made his argument, Jew and Gentile. So who's the ones who have been circumcised? The circumcision. We are the circumcision. Who is the we? Is it both groups or just one group?
Both groups.
It's both.
Both groups. So we agree with that?
Yeah.
So he's saying all of us are the circumcision. Compared to the others. Who are the others? The concision. Yeah? So now I want to ask, who are the concision? Because it's not this group, it must be this group. Yeah?
Right.
Who are the concision? Just the SDAs? No one else?
And those that they have persuaded to do circumcision in their body too.
Okay, but I'm just saying it's not the world. Yeah? So this gets a little bit tricky, and I'm going to show, because
Why is it only SDA?
Circumcision.
So, because I'm going to read, we're going to carry on reading to try and demonstrate why. For we are the circumcision which worship God in the Spirit. So if you're the circumcision who worship Him in the Spirit, what does that mean about your circumcision?
Circumcision of the heart.
So this is circumcision of the Spirit, yeah, or spiritual circumcision. So I'll put spiritual. And Sister Tanya is saying of the heart. Yeah?
Amen.
Got away the world.
And rejoice in Christ Jesus and have no confidence in the flesh. So what flesh is he talking about now?
More passion, lower passions.
The lower passions? Okay, so let's read. Verse 4. Though I might also have confidence in the flesh, like who?
Like
The Jews.
Like the
Uncircumcision.
like the concision. I might have confidence in the flesh like the concision do. And remember the concision of the mutilators. And this is his proof. If any other man thinketh that he hath whereof he might trust in the flesh, I more. So this is where you need the revised version to simplify all of that. What's he saying?
He's saying that if any man have any reason to boast about circumcision, he has even more reasons.
Because he loved us once.
Okay, so I'll read it this way. Although we don't brag about what we have done, although I could, others may brag about themselves, but I have more reason to brag than anyone else. Yeah? Would that be a fair representation of what it says in the King James? Yeah? If any man thinks that he has confidence in the flesh, I have more confidence in the flesh than anybody. And this is his proof. Verse 5. Circumcised the 8th day, of the stock of Israel, of the tribe of Benjamin, a Hebrew of the Hebrews, as touching the law, a Pharisee, concerning zeal, persecuting the church, touching the righteousness which is in the law, blameless. What's blameless mean? Sinless, perfect. So he was perfect, wasn't he? He was perfect when? Here or here? When was he perfect?
There.
A or B?
That's what he said.
According to left one.
Yeah, A, yes. This, A, not B. Everybody agree with that? He was perfect here. And now he's not perfect. Is he perfect now?
No, he says no.
Okay, so...
He was perfect.
Sorry?
He thought he was perfect.
No, he says. Touching the righteousness which is in the law, blameless. I mean, does he think he's blameless or was he blameless?
He would have known if he was perfect without the law.
It says, touching the righteousness which is in the law.
Yes.
I mean, if I was reading that, it seems to me this man is keeping law blamelessly.
Yep.
Do we know what law is he talking about?
Whatever the one he's doing, whichever one he's doing, we should all be in that condition. I mean, he's keeping law wherever, even if he's like simple one. So he's in this condition, keeping law. And this is the problem with Adventists, because they think they're in this condition, they're like the 5th generation Adventist. their great-great-grandparent knew Alan White and they went to a camp meeting or something like that, and this is their claim to fame, that we are blameless when it comes to the law. But we don't call it law, because that's a dirty word now. What do we call it? Reforms. You know, because we're all into reform. Salvation by reform. And that's what he believes, salvation by keeping the law. So, in the context of this, I would suggest the flesh is what?
Feeling.
I don't think it's the feeling.
This is actual flesh. He's talking about circumcision, at least.
So I think contextually, he's saying flesh is my heritage. And his heritage is being an SDA. He says, I was an SDA once, and you couldn't touch me. 2 meals a day, vegan, living in the country, homeschooling. Did everything right. According to the rules, blameless. And if anybody thought that they were good, they should see my life. My family's in order, everything's going good. That's what he's saying. And what these people, these dogs are doing is what? They're saying if you want to be saved, like over here, what do you need to do? You need to be a vegan, 2 meals a day, dress properly. You need to behave like a proper Adventist. You need to follow the rules or the flesh. And he says, I used to do that thing and I grew up. Because when I was a child, I behaved like a child, and then when I became a man, I put away childish things. What the childish things he's putting away? 2 meals a day, veganism. It's all of that stuff, he's putting it away because that's childishness. He's in a different realm, this man is. And this is where we need to be in our concept of what the reform line is supposed to do to us. But the first place we need to go to is realise what Adventists are. And I don't want to say what we are today, but what we're coming out of. We're coming out of this living in the flesh, that everything's okay because we're Adventists. If you ask any Adventists, they wouldn't believe that. They'll say, I'm not saved because my name is written in the book. No one would say that, but they will say, you better stay in the ark. Because if you leave the ark, you're going to be in trouble. Which means don't join dissident organisations. Don't join a cult organisation or a movement.
Isn't the real issue the motive behind the behavior? Because doing the right thing for the right reason is good, but doing the right thing for the wrong reason is wrong.
Okay, so in closing, let me just tackle that one point. Doing the right thing for the wrong reason. So let me ask this question. Why, if that was so bad, doing the right thing for the wrong reason, why do we do the wrong thing? Why can't 25 of us all living together for 3 months, why can't we all do the right thing for the wrong reason? Would that be good? If this school for 3 months ran on this principle, do everything for the wrong reason, we'll pay you $20 every day if you behave properly, wrong motivation, but do good. We can't even get to that level. Why can't we even get to the level of doing good for the wrong reason? So I want to just leave you with that thought. Instead of doing the wrong thing, can you do the wrong thing for the right reason? Think about that one. Can you do the wrong thing for the right reason? Or you do the wrong thing for the wrong reason? Yeah. So I'm going to say we're doing the wrong thing for the wrong reason, and that's bad. So why don't we just sort of go to this level? Do the right thing for the wrong reason. Even if we haven't got to the place where you're doing the right thing for the right reason. Why don't we start doing some of this? Because we're already 3 weeks, a month into the school now, I think, and we haven't even got to this level yet. And in our zeal, perhaps, to jump over here, well, you know, let's not go to this doing right for wrong. I think a lack of recognition of how the threefold nature of a human being operates has got us to a place that we live in this realm continually, and we dream about this place because we say this is going to happen at midnight. Oh no, we're not allowed to say that, are we? Because that would make us bad people. We won't say it, but we'll just kind of mumble it to ourselves every evening. We'll carry on living like this until we get to this stage. So maybe a suggestion would be, coming up to prophecy school soon, why don't we start living this way? Why can't we all start behaving right, speaking right, treating each other right, all for the wrong reason, so you don't get into trouble. Just for that reason, so you don't get into trouble. Why can't we all practice that?
Is that a wrong reason?
Yeah, wrong reason. If you misbehave, they're going to throw you out of the school, or you're not going to get lunch, or whatever it is. I mean, they're all wrong motivations, but why can't we just live at that level? Because it's far better than living at this level. Ellen White says, if we just were nice to one another, how much of life's difficulties would we get rid of? 50%. He said you'd get rid of half of your woes if you just treated each other properly. In the flesh. Just in the flesh. Because that's what wrong would be. Do it in the flesh. Try it.
Sometimes it's easy to say it, but
let's pray. Help us, Lord, to understand ourselves. We know that this is the work that you want us to do in understanding the process of salvation, the fall, and what happened to Adam, our father, and what's happened to us. May we have clarity on these issues, Lord, that we might allow the work that you're doing in this movement to do its work in us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.